I'm Mike,
And I'm Amber. Welcome to the Covenant Chronicles,
where we tell you the truth about relationships,
giving you the tools to build the foundation you always needed. Welcome back to the Covenant Chronicles, part 2 of our masculine versus feminine.
Stuck on the fact that every time you say welcome back, the Men in Black song plays in my head. Welcome back from outer space.
That is not at all the song that runs through my head when you say welcome back like that. Like the welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
No.
That song.
All right, then. Anyway.
And I cannot sing, so you should not do that right now. I mean, I sing all the time, but it doesn't mean that I'm good at it.
America's American Idol over here, but it's what it is.
I don't know. That's funny. Anyways, so we're going into the feminine side of things this time. And just for a little refresher here, the feminine energy is characterized by qualities such as being receptive, intuition and emotion, creativity, flow and adaptability, nurturing and compassion. Those are all feminine energy traits that, when you are in your feminine, are actually happening, which, you know, in the last one we talked about how when men flow into their feminine energy, it's usually when they're being emotional, hence the emotion side.
Well, I'm kind of stuck on the intuition part. I feel like y'all women have that 100% of the time, because here's the thing, man. You want a secret that will be amazing for your relationship. You're not as smart as you think you are. They always find out. So stop. You think you're being creative. I promise you, their intuition is more creative. So just stop.
We are very intuitive. I just think it's the level of which you're tuned into your intuitiveness. But you've never gotten away with one thing because I've known about it every single time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Every single time.
It's a Shaggy song. It wasn't me.
If you say so. No, but there's a lot that goes into it. And I was just looking at this chart that kind of like talked about the masculine versus feminine energy. And just we'll kind of go through each of them, but I really like kind of how they explained it and what that looks like to be in that role. Because I think that so many women don't actually know what it's like to be in their feminine. Like, we just straight live in our masculine. And even though, like, yeah, there's parts of being feminine that come out, like being intuitive, because that is one that typically a lot of women still have, even if they're in their masculine. But actually just being in our feminine and like feeling that, I'm really distracted by you right now.
I'm distracted too.
What are you doing?
Don't worry about it. Anyways, my bad, y'all. That's on me.
Sorry. That was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. Really, that right there, like, just like being able to laugh and be silly and be funny and like have fun together, that's a big, like, being in your feminine trait. Like, I'm not saying you can't be in your masculine and do those things also. I just think that it happens a lot more and a lot more frequently when you're in your feminine. You know, you're just able to be.
Well, and you know, let's be honest, when you're in your feminine, it's much more enjoyable for the guys, right? Like, by every measure, right?
Yeah.
Like, Oh, you don't want to have her nagging you all the time? Well, you should probably do your job and have her in her feminine because she's probably nagging you because you ain't doing your job.
Well, we
Oh,
talk about that, and, like, the first one on this chart says free flowing, full of energy.
yeah,
So,
like
like,
you want her to be more
eh,
fun and just, instead of, feeling like you've always done something wrong, you want her to be fun and jokey. And I mean, like you said, so really what I was doing is the microphone on the part that holds the microphone. It makes this little glass looking eye shape, if you will.
yeah.
And I'm basically lining my eye up to where I'm looking at the dog through the glass eye, right?
Oh, that's what you're
Yeah, yeah,
doing.
yeah. So, but that's exactly a point, right? Is you, if our roles were jacked up, right, and you were in your masculine and I was more feminine, you might get annoyed about that because we're trying to record over here, we're trying to have a conversation,
Yeah.
and I'm doing something that you're like, what is wrong with this guy right now, right? Like I look like a tweaker over here, my eyes just twitching, like whatever, right? But then you laughed about it and we had fun and made it a fun, jokey situation where we could actually laugh and have fun together.
Yeah.
So that's a great example of that, of just the energy and how the dynamic will be more fun and lighthearted. And then a lot of guys' favorite one, you want her to do that thing in the bedroom that you keep wanting her to do? Promise you, she'll do it. If you get your crap together, doesn't want to do it, and she always has a headache and she always doesn't feel good because she's tired of you being a child and her having to raise you like another child and her being her masculine where she has to lead everything.
Well, think about that. To be honest, what happens when we as females step into our masculine? We're in charge of everything all the time. We're thinking about everything all the time. We're doing all of these things that are not our job to do, but
Mm-hmm.
we're doing them and we're exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do I wanna do those things at the end of the night? No, because I'm freaking exhausted because I've been doing all these other things that I didn't wanna be doing, but I had to do anyways.
I was like, I can't relate. I haven't experienced that side of you. So,
You know, like, that's just, what happens a lot, whether women even realize it or not. That's often what is happening, and when you can flip into that just having fun and joking and being playful and having fun with each other, like, that just naturally flows with that, like, you're just having fun, you're just enjoying each other, like, you're just like, you want to do these things, want to be playful and be fun with your partner in the bedroom, like, that's just it's just part of it, like, it just flows into that, but if we're living in our masculine because you're not doing the things that you should be doing, like, it really is going to hinder the bedroom,
let's be
especially.
honest, as men, we can be a handful and you be complaining because she keeps saying she has a headache. You are the headache.
Yeah.
You are the headache, bro. Like, like that's the headache. You're like, oh man, I don't get what I want in the bed because she has a headache all the time. You're the headache. Like,
Kinda, yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, like, the next one talks about being stimulated by praise, like, men are stimulated by challenge, that's
mhm.
living in the masculine, right? And, face it, when women are in their masculine, really the same thing ends up happening, but when we're living in our feminine, like, we don't have to face the challenges per se all the time because you are leading, you are doing those things. What?
I just had a random thought because you're talking about the, when a woman is in her feminine. She's stimulated by praise.
Yep.
And now it makes a whole lot of sense on why.
Okay. That's a whole other topic.
You're welcome. Everybody listening right now is like, whoa, is this the After Dark podcast? I'm so confused right now.
Apparently. I didn't think that's the way this was going, but okay. There we are. Yeah, I mean, uh, we do enjoy that. Probably not everyone, but I do think when we are living in our feminine, we are more open, more, wanting to enjoy things and have fun. And let's be honest, like being submissive is a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And not submissive and like the worldview of like, oh, you're being submissive, you're being like shoved down and belittled, and like that's how the world sees being submissive, which is not at all what actually like being submissive is. And I do think that's like when we talk about masculine and feminine roles, the whole submission thing gets brought up and women are like, "Oh no, I can't be submissive to my husband."
I think it's a control thing, though. Back to what we
Yeah,
talked about in the previous sides is
for
she doesn't want
sure.
to relinquish that control, but not to, I guess, keeping people on their toes from talking about bedroom kinks to, going biblical over here. I mean, they literally talk about that, or that's, in the word about, wives be submissive to your
Submissive. Yeah.
husbands. And at the end of the day, like that is a natural role, right? Like when you look at happy relationships, that's what they look like, right?
Mhm.
So you can talk about worldly views, you can talk about following what's in the Bible, like you can talk about whatever, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's consistent across the board. And when you look at happy relationships, when she can be submissive, and I think the biggest problem with that word is society nowadays has created this negative connotation around it
Yeah, for
of,
sure.
well, if you're submissive, you're a slave.
But that's not like uh, being submissive in a relationship looks like him saying, "Hey, we're going to go this direction." And you saying, "Okay, I trust you.
Hmm.
Let's do it.
Hmm.
What can I do to help us move in that direction?"
Hmm.
Like that's being submissive. It's not him telling me what I'm going to do all the time and me doing it. Like that's not what being submissive is in a relationship. It's
Hmm.
you leading and me following, and not you telling me like, "Oh, we're going to do this."
Hmm.
Eh, Like that's not how it works. It becomes like this team scenario. Like you're leading, I'm following, and we're working together as a team to get to where we're going.
Well, yeah, and I think a big part that is missed in that, right? Because you're describing what a lot of people like to throw out there, right? In this masculine, feminine, leadership, submission type scenario of they get it screwed up, whether it's, the woman or the man, either way, they screw it up and they go, well, him saying, we're just going to do this, and you just blindly going along is, this control, it's a power trip, it's this, that, and the, but that's not what it is at all, right?
Mm-mm.
Because you do provide your opinion about things that are going to affect us, right? Like if
Well, and
we're
that's where
talking
the
about,
intuitive side comes in.
right, and if we're talking about, um, finances, for example, like let's go there, right? Because that's a huge one for relationships. We've already talked about we need to do a whole podcast on managing finances inside of a relationship.
Mhm.
But if we're talking about finances and, there's all these jokes about, women will say, "Oh, my money is my money and his money is our money." Guys will make these jokes about, "Oh, yeah, I don't let her see this side money or whatever," right? And there's all these different like thoughts about finances. But like when it comes to ours, you know, you have to figure out what works best for your relationship. And there are different dynamics that given personality types may work better or not,
Yeah.
right? But for us, we keep everything very open, right? Like for there's money that you may see that I don't even question. Like I know it's there. I don't know, the details. I know that it occurs on a regular basis. And I don't even ask, like, I don't care what like whatever happens to that money happens to that money. Like I don't care, right?
Mhm.
There's money on my side that's the same way. But the vast majority of our money is joint money and it gets dispersed towards, bills or investments or charity or whatever, or tithing, whatever that may look like. And I use charity, right? Because a lot of people don't understand tithing the way that we do, right?
Right.
Because it's not just giving money to the church, it's any other activities that we do. And there's a reason behind that. But regardless, you know, when we've had influxes of money, you know, you'll say, "Hey, I would really love if we could do this," or, I really think we should do this.
Mhm.
The last situation, um, you know, "Hey, I really think it's important that we, give money back."
Yeah.
Okay. And it's funny because we just hadn't talked about it yet. And like I told you, yeah, I agree. That was already part of the plan. Here's my plan. This is what, you know, my plan for this was.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay,
Mhm.
like I trust you, like whatever. And then, at a certain point, thought about it. And I'm like, you know what? There's too much trying to get down to the very last penny of where this is all going to be dispersed. So we're going to prioritize our tithing and our charity, and everything else is going to fall where it falls. And this is the direction we're going to, tithing, charity, investment, and then the rest is basically going to go where it goes. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do it. Right. Another situation where hey, we should invest in, our business over here. Okay, let's do it. Right. But you've also had input in certain aspects of saying, hey, I really think we should, deploy some money over in this area of our lives. Or I really think that we need to, take care of this. Or, hey, I don't know if you're tracking, but there's this financial obligation over here, you know, and it's this team effort of you're trusting me to make the financial decisions. You have full access and view of everything.
Yeah.
There's no hiding. There's no, oh man, you don't know any of this crap,
Yeah.
right? And you're trusting me to do this. However, I'm also listening to what you're saying, taking it into account, right? Because you do have intuition. And as my partner, and you being in that feminine role, part of your job is also watching my blind side,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
I'm going to have a handle on it and see 90%. That 10% I can't see, women are extremely good at seeing that when you're
Mhm.
in your role,
Well,
right?
and sometimes men are very focused,
Yeah.
right? And we are more like we can see the other things that you're not necessarily seeing because you're so focused on the one thing.
Right.
Right.
And with that being said, that's a good example of what that looks like, right? We're a team, but I'm leading this direction we're going. You're following me in that direction because you trust, like, I'm going to handle it in the proper way. And if for whatever reason I don't, I'm going to take care of it. If I make a mistake, I'm going to handle it. And you trust that I will.
Mm-hmm.
And you offer valued opinions when they present, when there's an opportunity to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's never the situation of us fighting over it,
Right.
or you being like, no, you can't do that. I'm not gonna, no. And like this lack of trust,
Yeah.
right? That's my favorite one. Is like when you hear women talk about, well, I let him or I don't let him when it comes to finances. And I'm like, when I hear that, I'm like, you don't trust him.
Yeah.
Right. And not to say that there's not dynamics where it makes more sense of like the man, she's an accountant. Well, she's really good at like, doing this, or she understands this stuff. And, I'm struggling in math. Right.
Yeah.
But this goes back to like being in the proper place in the proper roles, because if she's really good at it and she's much better at managing these finite things, maybe it is important to let her do that. But the flip side is that doesn't mean that you're blind to everything and she
Right.
just handles it all, and you know that you make money, but you don't know any of the stuff.
You should still be talking about it, communicating about it, and
Right.
you leading, even if you're not in control of necessarily
Right.
all of the
And you
money
having the
stuff.
vision for the life of this is where we need to go. And
Yeah.
maybe she is better at deploying, these finances into whatever category
Yeah.
to make sure that you guys are staying on track with your vision.
Right.
But if it's just her leading everything and you have no idea what's going on, and she's over here paying all the bills and she's doing all the accounting and she's putting money away for you guys and she's doing the charity or the tithing and she's doing your investments
Yeah.
and she's the one looking out for your future.
Yeah, that's a masculine.
Right. Right.
Yeah. That's not being in your feminine. But like you said, like yes, it's okay for women to be in the role of like handling that if it makes the most sense, but it should still be a situation where you're communicating about everything. And even if you're in charge of the finances and like getting them to where they go, really he should have the vision for it and be guiding you together on how to make that happen. Yeah, that's a good one. Another one is like creativity and inspiration, and in that is the saying of like women multiply things when they're in their feminine.
Mm-hmm.
The whole like give a woman a house and she'll make it a home. Give her your seed and she'll create a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those different sayings are for a reason, because when a woman is in her feminine, that's what we do. We do multiply things and make them. You and your faces tonight, you're killing me.
I was waiting for you to ask about this dumb grin because I was getting ready to call you out. And you know why?
I know, because I keep saying lately, like, I'm not creative. And he's like, yes, you are. You just haven't done it yet. And I'm like, I'm not.
So two problems with this, right? She just brought it up. So let's take a little side journey over here, this little side trail before we get back to the main trail here. One of which being we're big on internal conversations, right? And we try to catch each other. And so she has said to me multiple times recently, I'm not creative, and I've had to check that and
Yeah.
talk about it. The flip side to this is I had this vision of, because we are so big on changing your internal conversations, right? We've talked about it on the podcast. In my business coaching consulting, it's a big thing for me, which is why I named it what I did. And so I wanted to create something that really promoted that. And I felt the best way to do that was an apparel line called Change the Convo, which
Mhm.
stands for Change Your Internal Conversations. And so what I did is I said, look, I want to do an apparel line. I want it to be called Change the Convo. I want you to take this on. And she's like, but I'm not creative. And I was like, no, 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 no. You are creative. You've never been given the opportunity to express your creativity and in that degree.
Yeah.
So we go and she starts and she comes up with a couple really cool designs. And I said, okay, cool, keep going. Well, I'm not creative. No, no, no. We're not going to talk about ourselves like that. You haven't had a previous opportunity to express your creativity, right?
Yeah.
And here we are, like a month and a half into this project, probably. And she has these really amazing designs for this clothing brand that is faith-based and all about your mindset and your faith. And every person that has looked at these designs is like, holy cow, this is awesome, right? Even people that aren't big into like wearing any sort of branded clothing are like, man, this is sick. I would definitely wear this, or I'd definitely wear that, or I'd whatever, right? And then we get into hey, when we first kicked it off, we had this really basic, like plain website. And now you're even designing this whole new website in the backside of things that'll launch here shortly in the next few weeks that looks extremely professional. You're not a web designer, right? Like that's not
Yeah.
what you do, but your creativity has blossomed into this amazing project, which all this to say, when you're in your feminine energy, you guys are extremely creative and the stuff you can accomplish is amazing. But I, as the man, have to create a space to encourage your natural gifts
Yeah.
by being in your feminine.
Yeah. I knew this was gonna come up. I knew
You
it
brought
would
it
at
up,
some
not
point.
me.
And I did bring it up because I knew it would come up, but it is
Anyways, we
true.
come back to the main trail.
Yeah.
But if you want some sweet apparel, change the combo dot shop.
There you
It's
go.
there.
Yeah, I definitely have always been like, "Oh, I'm not creative because I really am not." Like, give me a piece of paper to draw something, and I will draw you a stick figure. Like, that's my depth of, drawing and art, as opposed to, like, my grandma was, like, a master artist, like, painted all the time and had all sorts of creativity, and I'm always been like, "That somehow didn't get passed down to me, I don't know." I don't know what happened, but as I do sit in my more feminine side, I do have that creativity. I just, those internal conversations have created a dialogue in my head that I'm not creative. And so that's definitely been something that, I've had to overcome within myself. But, another one is just being nurturing and compassionate. Like that's a huge one. That's not to say that women who aren't in their masculine don't also do that, because I do think, like, we're just women, and especially if you're a mom, like, the nurturing and compassionate side comes out. Not for everyone, but for the most part, it does, right? But I think when we're allowed to actually, like, foster that and live in it, a different side of us comes out, and we're able to be more compassionate and more loving and more receptive, which I think if you think about it in terms of, like, just the world we live in right now, why is there so much, like, childhood trauma and things that are, going on with kids that are creating, so many more behavior issues and eh, eh, all of these things happening in schools. Could it possibly be because we are all living in our masculine and we're not allowing space for like that more nurturing and loving side for a lot of us? You know, we're so addicted to our phones and being on screens, like we're not present in the moment and really like focused on that side of ourselves. It's kind of something that just hit me now when I was thinking about it.
Well, and I think how this translates or how you would see this show up, right? Because I think giving meters of actually having a gauge, right? Because it's good for both men and women, right? Because if you can say, hey, you're getting this type of reaction or this type of uh, personality or these actions, then this is a good meter of, as men, hey, we're doing our job. And then as women, you're in your natural femininity, right?
Mhm.
And with that, you can see the level, right? Because, like you said, with, you know, women that are moms, a lot of times there is a compassion that's natural for the kids, which I will notice that with women, it's definitely amplified when you're sitting in your natural femininity, right? You
Mhm.
see more of the playful with the kids, the kind, the caring, loving side, and less of the like, hey, the kids are being loud, shut up, or any of that sort of stuff that you can see inside of parenting relationships, right? But where it shows up differently or where you will notice a lot more of it is how you are with your partner,
Mhm.
right? Because do you care if your partner, right? Do you care about your husband or your boyfriend or your fiance or your man or whatever you call them? Do you care if they ate?
Yeah.
Do you care if they're, in a bunch of pain from work? Do you care
Yeah.
about these things? Right. And
I,
and there's a whole different level, right? Because we have that, we make that joke all the time of like, I'll cut my finger off and I'm gonna super glue it back on. But
well, I can speak to it from like being in my feminine versus being in my masculine versus being in my feminine because I can look at that and look back and like I never wanted to make dinner. Like
mhm,
didn't matter that like everyone needed to be fed and like I didn't want to do it. I didn't care. Like we'll figure it out, or it would be like it's your turn. Like you make dinner tonight cuz I don't feel like doing it. Versus now, like, that's not usually like, there's times that I'm just tired or, I don't feel good, and
mhm.
I just do not want to make food, you know? But for the most part, like, that's just something that I naturally do now, not because I have to, like, it's just I enjoy do it. Like, I enjoy making sure that everyone is fed. I enjoy making food that everyone likes, you know? L Look at it from the sense of, like, it your partner. Like, we can talk about, love languages and stuff, but to be honest, like, I feel like when you're in your feminine, you just naturally are more, like, caring and receptive to your partner. Like, I just I want to touch you. I want to scratch your back. I want to scratch your head. Like I just want to do things for you because you enjoyed them and I enjoy taking care of you, right? Um, versus when I'm in my masculine, I'm like, I'm not touching you. Like, figure yourself out,
I'm aware. Like I have two gauges to know when like I need to resolve some issues in our relationship. One is the level of back scratches and head rubs I've gotten in the day, right? Because like if I haven't really gotten any, I'm like, okay, she's having some issues. I've probably created those issues. We need to resolve this. And two, right? Because like I've never asked you to make me a plate, right? But you just
Yeah.
do it. Every time you cook, the first thing, because I'm typically, hey, I'm gonna wait for the kids to get their food. I'm gonna wait for your food, all this stuff. But you have this mindset of I'm gonna make his plate first, right?
Yeah.
And so you do. And I know that if you say dinner's ready, the kids get their plate, and you're like, hey, come get a plate. I've screwed up somewhere. Right. And it's funny because like it's not that I'm incapable, right? Like I'm expecting, hey, every time, right? We've been doing this for years now. And to this day, I have zero expectation of you making me a plate, right? I'm waiting for the kids to get their food and you to get your food, and then I will go make my plate.
Yeah.
But you just do it. And that's one of those things, right? Of like when you're talking about the caring and the that side of things, it's the touching me and the back rubs and the head, the back scratches and the head rubs. And, that's of course why I get your nails done because they make better back scratchers. But, right. Or like we're driving and you're just rubbing my arm or whatever, all of these things that you end up doing,
Yeah.
right? I can tell when things are messed up because you aren't doing these things,
Yeah.
right? And that's also where it comes down to being in tune with your partner
Mhm.
and noticing like, hey, something's off.
Yeah, but when I slip out of my feminine back into my masculine, like those things just automatically stop. And to be honest, it's not like I have this thought process of like, oh, I switched into my masculine, so I'm not going to touch him today. But like, it's a very good indication of like, ooh, she's probably more in her head and not in, her just flowing energy of happens when you're in your feminine. Because I don't like, there's not, this just thought process of I'm not going to do these things, but it's just what happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting one. But yeah, to your point, like I just do a lot of things that I don't even like think about,
Mm-hmm.
like making your plate. I I know you've never told me like you need to make my plate. I honestly don't even know why I do it other than like I just enjoy doing things for you when I'm in
Mm-hmm.
my feminine, right? Uh, And we'll, make your plate and then you'll eat. And not once have you ever been like, take my plate to the kitchen, but I'll just do it or go get you more food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, these are things like you're not asking me to do, but I'm doing them because I'm taking care of you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you see that show up in different mannerisms, right? Or specific tasks inside of different relationships. But the consistent message is like when you're in your feminine, you want to be caring towards your partner,
Mhm.
right? And that's where that comes from. And you've seen, right, that you see this different things, right? Some women like to take their man's boots off when they come home, in like a blue collar setting,
Yeah.
right? And that's one thing like we've never done, right? It's not something that we do. It's not part of whatever. I've never asked you to. You've never attempted to, right? It's just not our thing. But that is something that you see.
Mhm.
The plate thing, the rubbing my arms or wanting to touch me all the time, right? That is when you see these situations of you being in your feminine, you will continue to do things to just want to show up for me, right?
Mhm.
The You see one all the time. I'll hardly eat lunch half the time unless we just get lunch or so, what throughout the day, or if I'm having lunch with a client or whatever it is. But like, I don't plan to take my lunch with me every day, right?
Mhm.
So, and to be honest with you, it's not something that like I don't necessarily even eat lunch all the time, right? But there are jobs where they have, a consistent lunch schedule, and, a guy packs his lunch every day. And so his partner's doing that, right?
Yeah.
And she's in her feminine, she feels taken care of and she wants to take care of him. And so you'll see that, right? And that's a consistent trend where you see where women will make their man's lunch every day, right?
Yeah.
These are all different mannerisms and tasks that you see where it shows up,
I
right?
mean, yeah. I don't necessarily make your lunch every day, but if I'm out doing stuff, I'll almost always text you and be like, "Do you need anything before I go home?"
Hmm.
And like you don't always need something, but occasionally you'll be like, "Yeah, can you bring me a drink?" or "Yeah, can you bring me lunch?" or whatever the case is. Like that's just I just feel like making sure that your needs are met at the moment, right?
Well, and that's my favorite one, and we don't talk about this, but it was just kind of something I thought about. 'Cause I'm like, laundry, right?
Yeah.
You hate laundry.
Yeah, I don't
And
love it.
what's funny is this is another one that as we're working through this, I thought about when you're in your masculine, right? Because despite the fact that you hate laundry, when you're in your feminine, we have a magic laundry basket, right? And a magic floor in the closet where
Mhm.
my stuff ends up on the basket, or if it's getting kind of full, it might fall on the floor or whatever, and it just gets handled,
Yeah.
right? But when you're in your masculine, that laundry don't really be getting handled,
No.
and like I'll just go and do it, right? Because I'm like, oh man, like our laundry's getting pretty full. We need to go like take care of this,
Yeah.
right? But it becomes this thing of like, I don't have to say anything. We might go like, especially if we're busy or whatever, might go a little bit longer. I wouldn't say that we have this consistent schedule where you're like, oh, I have to do laundry every Tuesday and Friday, or anything
Yeah.
weird like that. But like it just gets handled.
Yeah.
But if not,
Yeah.
magic laundry basket don't be working. I gotta go wash clothes, whatever.
Yeah.
And like it's even if, we're working together on it, it's also a difference of like when you are in your feminine, I don't ever hear about having to hang up laundry, right?
Yeah.
But when you're not and you start falling in that masculine side, because I'm not handling my crap, all of a sudden I start hearing about how much you hate hanging up laundry. Laundry's such a pain. Right?
I mean, that goes with everything. Like just more willing to clean and do all of the things whenever I'm in that state versus not being there. Because again, it goes into that like nurturing and just wanting to make sure that, you know, people are taken care of and things are done. And, I say all of this to give those like traits of being in your feminine, like what that looks like and how it kind of shows up. But the truth is like if we're not feeling like our needs are being met, we're going to go into the feminine or into the masculine, I'm sorry. And that's where we're going to live because really evolution has taught us like we got to take care of ourselves, right? And if women feel like they have to be taking care of everything all the time, we're going to step into that masculine role. And we're not going to be in our feminine. We're not going to be doing the things that we're supposed to be doing because we're feeling like we have to take care of everything. And it's more of a like fight or flight situation all the time than it is just this ease and relax and like go with the flow state that comes from being in your feminine. So, like on the previous one that we were talking about, like if your partner is not in his masculine to put you into your feminine, you have to be really aware of that. And it is hard because, like, even being a single parent, trying to be a single mom really puts you into your masculine. Like all the things that you have to do nonstop as a single parent creates a situation where you're not really going to be in your feminine much. You're handling everything, you're having to make all the decisions, you're having to be both parents in the house, like it just puts you in that state. So I feel like there's times that it's necessary, I guess, that women step into that masculine role. But I feel like when you're in a healthy relationship and you have a secure partner or a husband, like you should be in these masculine and feminine roles in the proper way. And if you're not, then there is something going on. There is a deeper thing happening in your relationship that you really need to work through and figure out. Maybe it's you as the female, maybe you are having these control issues, and this is part of your trauma and your past and something that you need to work on. Like you just have a really hard time letting go of control. Well, you need to take the steps to figure out why. Is it because your partner, isn't stepping up and making you feel like you can trust him? Or is he actually trying to do those things and you just won't let him because you feel like you need to be in control? That's where you need to sit down and really work through things on yourself. But part of being in your feminine is working through your trauma, working to be a better person all the time, working to be your best self, and working to constantly be the best version of you that you can be. So if you're really struggling with being in your feminine, you need to take a look at those things and see where you can start making changes to either talk to your partner about the fact that he needs to step up and needs to take on some of these roles that are meant for him.
Well, it's because
Or
let's be honest, like if you're in a relationship and as a woman, you're in your masculine, it's his fault. Like I'm gonna call the dudes out, and I love, that we love to like point fingers and go back and forth, and he wants to say, oh well, she does X. No, no, no. If she's having to step into her masculine energy, you're not handling crap. So yes, in relationships, there's a part that both parties take, right?
yeah,
Especially when a relationship isn't where it should be. There's a level of it's on both parties, but you want to go back to societal or biblical, it does not matter. Both of them will tell you he needs to lead, and therefore you doing what you need to do so she can be in her femininity comes back to leadership.
yeah,
She doesn't lead the relationship and her start acting accordingly with her femininity, and then you become masculine. It's not at all how that works. So, like, if you're not there, there's a level of what, she can do, where she can examine why she's not there
Mhm.
and have that conversation with her partner. But if you're going to have the conversation with your partner and they're not receptive to it, send them this podcast, because I'm going to call him out and it's on him, right? Like, he needs to step up and
Yeah.
do the things that he needs to do. And if he doesn't understand that, listen to the last couple podcasts,
Mhm.
because they're going to be on there.
But if he is doing those things and is trying to be the leader and you're just flat out refusing to follow and to give up some control, then it's time for you to step up as well and start looking at what's going on inside you. Because if we are being the best versions of ourselves that we can be when he's doing what he needs to be doing, and he's leading and he's being emotionally safe and creating emotional security and creating security in general, there is no reason that you shouldn't be in your feminine, that you shouldn't be submitting to his leadership and following his vision and helping to create the life that both of you want together. So, with that being said, take what's been said. And if you feel like you are not currently living in your feminine and you don't know how to get there, examine what's happening in your relationship. Is your partner or your husband not in his true masculine? Is he not leading you? Is he not leading the relationship? Let's have a conversation about it. If you feel like he might be and you are struggling to relinquish some control or to follow or to just go with the flow naturally, it's time to dig a little deeper and figure out why. Why are you struggling with that? Why are you having such issue letting him lead? And then from there, start letting things flow more. Start letting him lead. Start trusting him to do his job in the relationship. And you follow behind and be supportive and see where that takes you. Because being in your feminine is actually really fun. And I think a lot of us just don't understand that. Like the girly, like have fun side of yourself that you think you don't have, you do. You're just suppressing it because you're in your masculine right now. And you think that you're not that way because you've not been that way for so long. But when you start figuring out these roles together and figuring out what it means for him to be truly in his masculine and what it means for you to truly be in your feminine, you're going to start playing with that side again. And you're going to enjoy those things again. And you're going to enjoy just being and flowing in love and doing things for others and being a supportive and caring partner. Those things are just going to start happening. So start there, take that, roll with it, see what happens.
Good man, step your game up. I'm gonna still get that last little jab in there about them doing what they're supposed to.
There's that too. Well, that's all for now for masculine and feminine roles. I have a feeling this is probably one that we'll talk about again at a later point with, some more depth and detail as well. But for now, that's all we've got for you.
All right, y'all. We'll get you next time.
See you next time. Bye, guys.